I know that I've talked about this before, um, but I'm going to talk about it again in a slightly different context. This whole science based thing. What does it even mean anymore? As far as I'm concerned, it has become a marketing ploy, much like saying military grade, as seen on TV. One weird trick. People will say, oh, I'm science based. And it's like, that's an appeal to authority, first off. But second of all, are you really science based? Because what you're posting isn't based in science. And furthermore, uh, if you are science based, then why are you ignoring all the scientific literature? People keep posting things. I see it all the time. It drives me crazy, actually, that this stuff gets shared and people who don't know any better buy into it. Um, Intermittent fasting has no benefits. It just simply happens to be a strategy where people eat less. And it's like, are you just ignoring literally like all of the research on time restricted eating? That's not that's not even an accurate statement that it has no benefits beyond the fact that people simply eat less. That's stupid. There's tons of research showing that even whenever we control and make sure that the caloric, intake is the same, um, like there's something going on there. Now, am I telling you it's the end all be all? No. Am I telling you that time restricted eating it's going to add 20 years to your life? No. But claiming that it has no benefit, that's bullshit. You know that's bullshit. The research shows it's bullshit. Like, not that it's bullshit that time restricted eating is bullshit, but the idea that it has no benefit, come on. How are you going to call yourself science based if you're going to ignore something like that? You know? People are like, oh, well, it's all just calories in and calories out. You can lose weight on the Twinkie diet. And it's like, that's true in a short term sense. Do that long term and let me know if you don't run into micronutrient deficiencies. Like, come on. Like, you're science based, though, right? You're science based. Yeah, I'm so science based. There's no need for B12 or iron or magnesium. It's just calories. And it's like, what the? How can you claim to be science based while you ignore all the science? Do calories matter? Of course they matter. But, like, you know full well that you can't just eat the Twinkie diet forever. It's like this thing, I think it was called the potato diet, and you ate nothing but potatoes, and people would eat less because potatoes are very, very satiating. So if you eat nothing but boiled potatoes, you'll eat less. Sure, that's true. How long can you do that for, though? Like, for the rest of your life, you're going to do the potato diet? I'm not sure that that's a smart idea. I feel like the nutrient deficiencies are going to catch up with you eventually. No? But you were science based, right? And it's like, I see this crap even in training stuff. People are like, I'm science based. You have to do 45 sets to failure because that's what the Schoenfeld studies showed. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? There are plenty of people who get huge never taking a set to failure. Jay Cutler says he never took a set to failure on purpose, ever, in his whole career. Not that he didn't take sets to failure, it happened, but he never intentionally trained to failure. Okay? Huh. What do you make of that, right? Do you have to go to failure? Well, we have a whole bunch of studies showing that you don't have to go to failure. So, like, people choose one study and then they make a statement and they act like, well, I'm science based and this is what this one study says. It's like, well, if you're science based, then you know that one study means nothing. You know that you have to have like a meta analysis or a research review or something where you look at look at all of the literature and then you have to look through that. Like, how do you claim to be science based if you don't do that? I can find one study on practically anything. I can probably find a study for you that says smoking's good for you. I can probably find a study that says that alcohol is good for you. What do we know from the research when you look at all of the research? It's very different, isn't it? And so, like, I've become very skeptical of anyone who puts science-based around their name. Because I think it's just an appeal to authority. It's like their way of saying, like, don't question me. I'm science-based. Let me put a bunch of letters after my name. And those letters after your name don't mean shit. Like, they really don't. I know people that don't have any letters after their name and they're brilliant. And I know people that have lots of letters after their name and they're not brilliant. So which one is it? There are billionaires who don't have any education at all. There are billionaires who never even finished an undergrad. They're pretty smart people. And then there are people who are sitting on their parents' couch at the age of 40, smoking pot and playing video games, who have a PhD. Let that sink in. You know, this person's an authority because they have a PhD. Okay, where'd you get it from? Oh, I got it from this online school that doesn't even exist anymore. You know, I can have a PhD tomorrow. There are websites, online schools, online universities, where I can get a PhD for life experience. No dissertation needed. Do you have any idea how hard it is to write a dissertation? Do you have any idea what it takes to actually write a dissertation? And yet, I can get a PhD for life experience? Do you really think those things are equivalent? If I go to MIT and I do my dissertation in particle physics or some incredibly difficult science, and I have to write a dissertation on it and I have to defend it, do you think that that is equivalent to the person who went to an online university and got their PhD in physics for life experience? These things are not equivalent. These things are not equivalent. Not at all. Not even close. You guys need to be more skeptical. I'm not telling you that you should be distrustful of everyone or something like that, but you should be cautiously, I don't even want to use the word skeptical. It's like, use your damn common sense. You know? If you see people say, it's just, you pretty much know everything coming after that's going to be bullshit. Because human physiology is one of the most complex things that we're aware of. I mean, like, the human brain is more complex than the entire universe. We don't understand how 99% of it works. And you think that there's anything in human physiology and metabolism that you could say, it's just, like it's a single factor? Come on. That's not how any of this works. And so, like, when I see these people, they're like, well, I'm science-based. This has no bearing on anything. And it's like, well, I guess it doesn't if you ignore all the literature. People are like, well, I'm science-based. Sugar's not bad for you. And it's like, well, like, in what sense? Like, how much sugar are we talking about? Like, now we need to start, clarifying things. How much sugar? What's your blood glucose? What's your response to it? Are we talking about sugar for a person who has insulin resistance? Are we talking about sugar for a person who has type 2 diabetes? Are we talking about sugar for an athlete who is just burning through it as they consume it? Are we consuming sugar during competition? Like, I'm running a marathon and I'm consuming sugar while I run a marathon? Are we talking about a person who's sedentary and sits at a desk all day consuming the same amount of sugar? Those are very, very different things. Insulin doesn't make you fat. There's actually instructions. If you know anyone that has diabetes, my father had diabetes. He had to inject insulin. The instructions tell you specifically that you have to rotate injection sites. Because if you inject at the same site every time, you will end up with this big lump of fat. It will accumulate where you inject your insulin. Hey, growth hormone. You have to rotate your injection site. If you inject at the same site every time, you will actually have like a pitted hole. Like, you'll have a dent in your fat. So, that's an interesting thing. Maybe people should pay attention to stuff like that. I don't know. Like, that seems pretty science-based to me, that we have research showing that this happens, and then on top of that, the pharmaceutical companies literally give you a warning that it will cause that. But then some guy who's like, I'm science-based, ignores that? You can't ignore that. Diabulimia. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Diabetics can stop taking their insulin, and they'll have hyperphagia, so they're eating tons of food, and they lose weight. How's that possible? Right? How's that possible? Well, it is very possible. Go read the literature on it. So you can't just claim, like, I'm science-based, so you can't question me. Well, you're not science-based if you're ignoring the literature. So I am trying to warn people that this science-based crap, most of the time, is just a marketing ploy. Like, it doesn't actually mean anything. Most of the people saying, I'm science-based, are not actually science-based. They're not. They ignore the literature, they cherry pick what they want to be true, and then it's the only thing they share to their audience, and their audience falls for it because the average person doesn't sit around reading papers all day. And so they're using an appeal to authority, which is a fallacy. It's a logical fallacy. They're using that as an appeal to, to trick you into thinking that they're the authority on this, and then they conveniently only show you the part they want you to see. Look at this study that confirms what I'm saying. Don't look at all the studies that don't confirm what I'm saying. So it's like, well, fasting has no benefit, except for the fact that there's a whole bunch of studies showing fasting has benefits. So you can only make that claim if you obscure the fact that there are studies that say the opposite of what you're claiming. And that's basically all I'm trying to warn people. I'm trying to warn people, don't fall for this crap. It makes me want to just, like, I don't know, stop trying sometimes. Because I feel like the people who spread this stuff are always going to be infinitely more popular than I am, because no one wants to hear about moderation and context and it depends, right? You ask me a question and my answer is like, well, what's the context? Well, it depends on this and this and this. People just want absolute answers. There are no absolute answers. Oh, you tore your ACL. How do I fix it? They want an absolute answer, and it's like, well, it depends on why'd you tear your ACL in the first place? Like, you have navicular drop? What? Like, you have weak hamstrings? Where? Like, there's a variety of reasons. Maybe it was a contact injury. I can't fix that for you. I can't make it so that someone doesn't plow into your leg a second time. But certainly we can make your hamstring stronger if it was a non-contact injury and that was the weak point, or you overpronate. We can address those things, but like, it all depends. Mechanisms of injury vary. You can break your arm falling down the stairs. You can break your arm punching a wall. Like, mechanisms vary. So, anyways, I just trying to warn people. Just trying to warn people. Don't get ripped off and don't get fooled. Don't fall for the marketing. So, if you guys like the video, like the video. If you have an experience with this, someone tried to bullshit you into something, comment below, share it. Warn other people. And subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. I'm going to make a point to start talking about supplements, I think. I'm start warning people about some of the bullshit around that. Hopefully that'll save you some money.